Hello everyone, how are you? Hope you had wonderful holidays. Given that it's the end of the year, I want to give you guys a one last tour of my container garden in 2024. I want to quickly go over a couple of things, a couple of features that I added to my garden this year and talk about whether I like them or not, whether I'm gonna keep them for the next season or not. I also want to share with you a couple of plans, a couple of ideas that I have for my garden for this new gardening season 2025. And also to highlight some winter hardy evergreen plants that I'm growing in my garden right now and that are providing beautiful winter interest at the moment. Because I always say this, but even if you're not actively gardening at this time of year, it's nice to have something pretty to look at, even if it's just through the window. So let's go. Okay, so we are gonna start here at the end of the balcony in what I call my shade perennial garden. As you can see, in terms of plants here, there's a lot of dormant plants. That's why the pots are looking empty. We have two evergreen plants. We have Carex Evergold over here, beautiful ornamental grass. And we have a Helleborus niger, which is a little bit on late this year. Usually we have a lot of flowers, a lot of beautiful white flowers at this time of year already, but this year is running a little bit late. So the biggest change in this part was obviously this big privacy screen that I installed, I think that was February 2024. And I was a little bit hesitant because it is obviously a really large feature. And the main reason why I had to install it because I had some privacy issues with my neighbor. It was getting a little bit out of hand, a little bit unpleasant. I tried to create privacy in more subtle ways, with plants. I would place different plants in here that would kind of cover this little corner here. But my neighbor would go to the lengths of even moving those plants with her hand to be able to spy on us. So it was getting a little bit too far. So I decided to put this big privacy screen. And as I said, I was a little bit hesitant because, it is a big feature. It also casts a lot of shadow in this already shady garden. But overall, I am very happy. It was honestly the best thing I've ever installed in my garden because not only it solved all the problems in terms of privacy, but it also provides this beautiful background to my plants. I love it, especially, in summer when all the plants are in full growth. It looks really, really beautiful. So I'm enjoying it so far. It was the best decision ever. So I'm not gonna be changing much in here because I consider this part finished. As you can see, there's not even much place where I could possibly add any more plants. So I think this place is gonna stay this way. Now, as I move around, it's a little bit tricky for me to show you because the balcony is very narrow. But in this spot here, we have a beautiful Clematis montana, dormant right now, beautiful pink flowers in the spring. But in this corner, I'm also not going to be changing much because there is not much to change. We have a couple of evergreen plants. We have Euonymus harlequin, beautiful variegated plant. Absolutely love this cute little pink tinge on the leaves in the winter. We have evergreen fern that's not looking very hot because it suffered a little bit in summer. We have a Heuchera silver gumdrop next to it, not looking also very pretty because it was attacked by vine weevils. And then above we have bay laurel topiary. Also, not much is gonna change in here. We have one empty container in here, possibility to plant some perennial plant. Here we have a dormant astilbe. So not much is gonna change here. The biggest change is gonna arrive in this little grouping here. I'm definitely gonna be working on this little grouping of plants in here because there is not much happening at the moment. If any of you remembers, I had this massive hydrangea in here, Hydrangea macrophylla early blue. I've had it in my garden for I think 6 years. It was one of my oldest plants, but it grew so big that it started to reach the other end of the balcony and I had no place to move around freely. So I made a decision to give it away. I planted it in someone else's garden, and this gives me the possibility to try something new. For the time being, I have a Hydrangea arborescens. So this is a dwarf Hydrangea arborescens, one of the smallest Hydrangea arborescens that there are. So I'm really looking forward to see it in full bloom next season because it didn't do much this year because it was still very small and very young. So I'm probably going to be moving this one over here, and in this spot I will grow another hydrangea macrophylla. I'm a huge fan of hydrangea macrophyllas, big leaf hydrangeas. I'm eyeing a couple of really beautiful varieties. I want to try one of the You and Me series because they have beautiful double blooms, like You and Me Together or You and Me Romance. These are the ones that I'm eyeing. I'm also eyeing a variegated hydrangea macrophylla because I haven't seen many people grow a variegated macrophylla, so that's something I would like to try next year. I still haven't made up my mind which one I want, but definitely will be planting one of those in this spot over here. And then I have a couple of containers where I can try some new perennial plants. And then other than that, we have a hellebore, beautiful ice and roses, pink hellebore, also running a little bit late. Usually they're in full bloom at this time, but there's plenty of flower buds. And a black pearl heuchera over here. Alright, as we move forward, I just wanted to show you these beautiful pansies. Look how full and beautiful they are. When I bought them, they had maybe one flower per plant, and now they are absolutely full, provide such a beautiful color despite the negative temperatures. As we move forward, two tuyas in here, two beautiful evergreens, very easy to grow, very low maintenance, can adapt to many different conditions. I root prune them every couple of years just so that they don't become pot bound. Give them a splash of water in winter and they are pretty much no maintenance at all. As we move forward, this little grouping of plants over here is gonna change significantly as well. So for now, I just placed some evergreen plants in here because, you know, I see this area from my kitchen window that's behind me. So I want to have something pretty to look at through the window. So I placed these two evergreen grasses. I know that many people are not fan of them, but I absolutely love them, even though they look a little bit like dead grass. I just like this beautiful texture. I like how they move in the wind. I find them to be very beautiful and very attractive. These are Carex grasses, also very winter hardy. We have a little heuchera in here. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of this one because it came without a plant tag, but it changes colors throughout the season. In winter, it's more of a yellow and pinkish color. In summer, it becomes more dark pink purple. We have Ivy Glacier over here. Also get a lot of questions about this. How does it work? How did I manage to grow ivy in this shape? And it's very simple. There's just a metal obelisk under. Not sure if I will be able to show you. There you go. There's a metal obelisk just like this one, but a little bit smaller, and I planted one ivy plant and just let it climb on top of it, and within a couple of years it completely covered the obelisk and provides a beautiful winter interest right now. So speaking of this obelisk that is empty at the moment, I actually bought a plant for it. Let me show you. So I recently went and bought a new climber. I bought a new clematis because I'm a huge fan of clematises. I already have two in my garden, but this one will be a new beautiful addition. I'm gonna show you how it actually looks because it looks pretty ugly in this photo, to be honest with you, and it's such a gorgeous plant. Clematis Josephine. It's rather small clematis, so it will be perfect for container gardens, for balcony gardens, because it only grows 2 to 2.5 meters tall, and it's a clematis that blooms between May and June, and then it reblooms again between August and September. So I'm really looking forward to growing it on this obelisk behind. For now, I'm not gonna be planting it. Obviously, it's winter. It's way too cold to be planting anything out here. I'm gonna wrap it in some horticultural fleece just to protect the roots a little bit, but it's a fully hardy plant, so this is literally how they had it exposed in the garden center outside in winter. So okay, so let's take a look at this part of the balcony. A couple of new additions in here. The first one, obviously, this arch. Here again, I was a little bit hesitant. I feel like I'm always hesitant, but you know how it is when you have such a small space and you decide on a large feature, you know, it may think like it's a good idea in your head, but then when you end up placing it in your garden, you feel like it doesn't fit. You know what I mean? So I was afraid that this is going to be the case with this arch, that it's going to be too large, that it's going to take up too much space, that I will end up not liking it. But not at all. I feel like that's exactly what my garden needed in this place, over this bench. I feel like it adds the necessary height, and it's just a beautiful decoration. And I really enjoy growing two climbers on it. Here I have rosemary Delany, also an experiment because I wasn't sure if it's actually gonna perform well in the shade. I made a whole video about it, shared my experience on how it went during this first growing season. So far so good. And on the other side we have a clematis, yet another clematis, Jackmanii, beautiful clematis as well. I wasn't sure if I'm gonna keep it because it felt like it's a little bit too dark for me for this space, but at the end I feel like I'm gonna keep it because it's just a beautiful plant that's a great performer. Another new addition in this corner is this vertical planter. I needed something just to allow me to grow more edibles in this space, but at the same time I needed those edibles off the floor so that they can catch a little bit more sunlight, so they can perform and produce more. And I'm really satisfied with this vertical planter. It gives me so much more space to grow edibles, gives me more possibilities, keeps everything off the floor. Great use of this vertical space that was empty before. I grew lettuce, I grew radish, alpine strawberries and all kinds of things, and that's exactly what I'm planning to do with it next year as well. For the time being, I placed some pansies in here. I didn't even plant them. The poor things are just left like this. But yeah, in the spring I'm definitely planting more edibles in this vertical planter. I placed my blueberry in here, the other one is over there, so this corner is pretty much reserved to veggies. And other than that, not much has changed in this corner and not much will change. We have the hydrangea in here, hydrangea serrata. This one is absolutely massive, always covered with flowers. Blueberry cheesecake is the name of the variety. And behind there's yet another ivy gold heart. Absolutely love this one. Has slightly larger leaves than other ivies and has beautiful yellow variegation, and if you look close enough you will notice that the stems are actually red. I think that's such a beautiful feature. And ivies, they are so low maintenance, there's absolutely nothing that you need to do with them. I barely even water it in summer. It's all squeezed in that corner and it's pretty much just rain that waters it, because in summer I can barely reach in there because the hydrangea is so massive. So really low maintenance plant, really winter hardy, and provides such a beautiful winter interest. So this is how the balcony garden looks at the end of December. Let's take one last walk from this perspective. So in terms of the placement of my containers, nothing is gonna change. I'm satisfied with the current layout. I like this little curved pathway through the garden. I've kept it for the past couple of years and I really enjoy this layout. So thank you so much for being part of this gardening community in 2024. Hope you'll stay with me for 2025. Wishing you a beautiful end of the year, and we will see each other again next week.